Hey there, everybody. Thanks for joining me for another one-man review. I just got a package from Sean, and I got three new Living the Line products to look at. I'm always excited when Sean sends me copies to review of the books. I'm kind of like loosely aware of what books he has coming up. Some of them, like Her Frankenstein, I get to see as in a PDF version ahead of time, just like to help with copy editing or whatever. But I'm always excited to see them in print because that's obviously where these things really shine with Sean at the helm. So this is Her Frankenstein by Kawashima Norikazu. This is a older manga that is translated by Ryan Holmberg, and this is actually not from Living the Line proper. This is from a new Living the Line sub-label called Smudge, and this is just Sean and Ryan Holmberg working on a line of books where they're translating historically important, usually like darker kind of psychological horror books and things like that. So one thing I really like that they did is they call this Smudge number one. So Smudge is a series in and of itself that's kind of conceptually tight. I think, you know, the type of books in Smudge are a specific type of manga in vibe. And then they give you, this is 1986 Her Frankenstein. So they give you all that information up front. And I like that there's this sense that you can buy the entire Smudge collection, even though they're not related books. They're not even all by the same author. I think that's a cool idea. And then right out the gate, you get this terribly creepy Frankenstein image here. And then you jump into the main character right away saying, "My boss was dead. She's been the world to me, dearer to my heart than even my own parents." This character here, Mr. Utsugi, who's the main character of the book, Tetsuo Utsugi, he is seeing this super creepy girl with her face missing there. It's like this ghost that's haunting him. And he's going to a therapist and talking to him about this. And they start to try and figure out why he might be seeing this from a psychological standpoint that's not being treated as supernatural. So I like that this supernatural thing showing up in his life is treated psychologically. The reproduction in this book is great. It looks like they might have a little bit of fill-in and stuff because I don't think they had access to the original art, but Sean's so good at this reproduction stuff that whether they had the original art or not, it looks pretty damn close. And so all of the line work that you get, this awesome cross hatching and everything, is really, really crisp. I also think it's fun that this is like a standard tankobon size. It's printed on rougher paper. I don't think it's on the cheap newsprint that you normally get with manga, but it has that feel, even though it's a little bit like heavier and nicer paper. It feels like typical tankobon. And I know Sean loves manga so much and has spent so much time. This must be really, really fun for him to do like a real manga. I know he's done Plaza, but that one's such a strange manga, and it's printed so big and everything. This is really like manga, and so I can like almost tell the fun that Sean and Ryan are having with this therapy session about what this ghost apparition thing that the character is seeing leads to remembering back to childhood trauma that the character has. So that's something that I always find interesting in books is people like who have dealt with a traumatic life situation and then in later in life are dealing with it. I like that better than like the coming of age story. I think it's interesting to really see people who are fully embedded adults grappling with stuff and then, looking back in their life. So that story structure works really well for me. The main character remembers this girl that he met named Kimikaji Kiriko, who over time, like, basically abuses him. I don't want to give away, like, too many spoilers because obviously this is just out and we want you to go buy it. But he has like a traumatic relationship with her. There's some really nice imagery in here, like his dad coming in and being angry, the shadow, and then like the reflections off the glasses here. He's obviously wearing like some shades, but making those big round eyes just makes it so demonic. So there's some really cool imagery like that throughout. You also get some really, really nice, really well rendered backgrounds here, and I don't know, maybe Sean did have access to the original art, because there's some really cool like patterns that are being used on the wallpaper, some tone patterns, and those are all reproduced perfectly, and all of this looks pretty perfect to me too. But just some really cool, thorough image making with the backgrounds, as you get a sense of what this relationship, this abusive relationship between this girl and this kid revolves around. I'm not going to say exactly how this all relates to Frankenstein, but there is some cool Frankenstein imagery where there's a kid dressed up in a mask going around imagining he's Frankenstein beating people up. This is part of the traumatic event that he has to work through. And so within that, you just get some really awesome, creepy imagery here as well, which is interesting to see a mangaka take on such a standard, like, American movie monster. Like, it's very much movie Frankenstein. And so it's fun to see that be a part of it as well, and see stylistically how they approach that using what seems to me like some pretty obvious references from the movies or something, or at least having one of those masks. So really cool book. I don't want to give away too much of it because I want you to go buy it, but really intense kind of psychological horror. I like that it has suggestions of the supernatural in it, but that it all gets tied back to actual real world events. I think that makes it particularly compelling. Another thing that I think is really cool about what they're doing in Smudge is they're having these essays in the back, which is typical. This one's not written by Ryan Holmberg. This one's written by Kawakatsu Tokushige, but this is a kind of history about the demise of classic horror manga. So any project that Holmberg's involved in typically has a historical component to it. You get to see the original color cover here, which is terrifying. I'm not sure if they couldn't get that or what, but that would have been a fun image to have on the cover. And then also, because they're introducing a lot of artists that haven't been seen in the United States, you get like a little section here, gallery of covers and summaries of the other work that the artists made. So I think this is really smart, because you're introducing new artists to the market, and then you're like, well, if you like this book, there's all these other ones that, you know, are out there that you can seek out and try and find translations of, try and get copies of, or whatever. I don't know if the plans are to reprint all of these eventually, if this is just fishing for interest to see what it is, but whether these actually ever get printed as a smudge book or not, I still think this is a really cool way to educate the audience on both an artist's own history and then a history of the genre in whole, in total. And I think that's really cool, you know, that what Ryan is doing and what Sean and Ryan are doing together. I mean, Ryan does this no matter who he's printing with, but especially with Smudge, that they're taking such a historical view, that's necessary work. And I'm really glad it's happening in the manga that you're reading rather than in academic journals and stuff like that. A lot of that historical work just gets hidden away from the public, but these are very well researched, very thorough essays here, and I really like that the general public has access to it. That's who this is for the fans that like it. It shouldn't be locked away in the halls of academia. So awesome book, beautiful art throughout, really intense story, and then as a project, I think the Smudge project's awesome, and I have read the PDF for the next Smudge project, the mushroom, I forget what it's called, but it's UFO mushrooms, invasion of the mushroom UFOs, and it's totally different than this, but equally interesting, equally cool. So I'm really looking forward to all of what comes from Smudge.
Back to the land, let's get away. Just